Welcome, this is Reverend Stephanie Neal. We are in the House of Ancestors and Spirits, Chapter 26. I'm calling this lesson Getting Started. When you are ready to start working with spirits, it is like placing a neon sign in your window saying, "All spirits are welcome, come on in." This is why a slow and steady approach to the subject and setting up protection where you are going to do your work are both good measures. Wards can be as simple as imagining a blue-white light surrounding the area where you work with spirits. When beginning, first set up your parameters on how, when, and how often you will work with spirits, developing a partnership with your gatekeeper, as well as further developing your psychic muscles through chakra work and/or daily meditation and/or divination tools until there is no need for the tools. So introduce yourself to your gatekeeper spirit guide. So I've broken this down numerically. So 1, see a big, bright, spinning wheel before you. See its colors and feel the breezes it produces move past your face. It is spinning faster and faster until you see a solid mass in the center of the spinning wheel. Second, then ask, "Will my gatekeeper please step forward?" It may or may not step forward for you. If a being steps forward out of the center of the spinning wheel, ask, "Are you of the light?" If it indicates it is of the light, then ask your next question, "Are you my gatekeeper?" If she or he or it indicates yes, then move on to your next question. What is your name? How will you indicate you are nearby? Will you work with me in spirit sessions? If the guide indicates yes, then ask, "When working in spirit sessions, how will you indicate the spirit stepping forward is of the light?" When journeying in meditation or dream, how will you indicate the spirit desires to visit with me? This point on, begin to have a nice conversation with your gatekeeper, asking questions regarding her, him, or it. Have they lived on this earth? In other words, develop a genuine friendship and partnership with your gatekeeper. This is important, especially if you are going to be a medium. After this pleasant conversation, set up a regular time to chat with her or him or it. It does not need to be a long time, just enough time to have a cup of coffee would do for the most part. So now setting up protection exercise, since I referred to it earlier. Breathe deeply for a few moments. See a gleaming white light in the center of the room floating in the air, maybe the size of an apple. A beautiful radiant light hovering in the center of the room. Allow this sphere to just float there for several seconds. Now, respectfully, lovingly request this light to set up strong, thick, protective boundaries in this space any way she prefers, only allowing what you and your gatekeeper allows to enter this designated space. Now continue to relax. Watch as this tiny light grows in brilliance and size, growing as it fills the entire space. See this light become even brighter as it turns silver or gold or both, as a barrier surrounding this place becomes firm and strong. As the sphere grows and your attention rests in the center of the globe, the walls of the sphere become thicker, while the center of this space becomes clearer, where everything is seen again. Now you realize this once tiny apple-sized ball has completely engulfed your space. Seeing the entire circumference is thick and strong while the center is crystal clear. If you have a symbol that makes you feel safe and loved, create it by creating this symbol by moving your hand in the air, forming the symbol. The pentacle is a protective and living symbol, or the Correllian portal works beautifully. Now note, if you are going to always work with spirits in this space, keep the orb up, feeding it with love and gratitude and blessings. Each time you pass through the room, see or feel the glowing protective orb. Celebrate it. If you are going to utilize this space once in a while, then see the entire orb dissolve and bless it away after each use. When I started working with spirits, it was my spirit guide, the gatekeeper, that communicated my first lessons and first contacts, all my so-called past lives, their bodies that are long in the ground. After the initial lessons were learned, experiences and missions kept this journey moving forward, learning how each life decides with its higher self and deity when the body was to be removed from the soul, so the next life chapter may seemingly begin, this chapter ending in the physical world some of us call death, a period on the last word in a single book chapter. You will find you will work with many of your past lives. As time passes, spirits from other souls will step forward. Your spirit guides are the exception due to most of them have always been with you in this life, and some have traveled with you in many other lives. The reason why our focus is your past life experiences is that all these lives are incredibly easier to connect to and be available to you. Well, because they are you in another chapter of your book. Ancestors, cemeteries in all their forms are peppered with your dead bodies you wore for just a time. You are likely to be found in the bottom of the ocean or buried in ashes. All these are just your bodies long physically vanished. Yet know all your lives are healthy and living well in many places in the physical, in many dimensions on both sides of the veil. In Summerland, well, what Summerland was termed by Emanuel Swedenborg, being inspired by Andrew Jackson Davis in his work called The Great Harmonia, published in 1850. So that term Summerland isn't an ancient word after all, but it is a word that represents a ancient concept. Or many refer to death as the afterlife, which is somewhat a misnomer due to there is life past the veil, others call eternity. So with that said, please allow me to formally introduce you to an eternal, brilliant being whom has lived in the light for eons and has influenced the very earth and all of eternity. I would like to introduce you to you. All your lives in the physical world, all your deaths that returned you to eternity have had stellar experiences. All still have a meaningful voice that desires to be heard. Most voices desire to be remembered and help the physical world. From eternity, as we here desire to help spirits in Summerland, especially the newly dead. Both places helping each other. As mentioned before, from time to time, other spirits will step forward to be with you. Then, as time passes, you will be visited by many entities from many places if you wish to explore further. So to begin, after you have developed a relationship with your gatekeeper spirit guide, dedicate yourself to psychic muscle development and set up clear boundaries where you will work with entities. Then you are ready to explore spirits and the places they live or lived or now live. Now, of course, some individuals experience entities unconsciously or uncontrolled. This study is not about that type of spirit work, though working with spirits uncontrolled has its place, but this is not what this teaching is about. This teaching is entering hyper awareness, hyper consciousness, so we may add to the knowledge already gleaned from the ages. The suggestion: it is better to go slow and deliberate than fast in this work. As you are preparing to work with spirit sessions, you are able to start working with spirits. I know on the surface that does not make any sense, yet some will experience this happening. They're preparing and setting up for a spirit session, and then a spirit will show up prematurely while they are not really ready for them to commune with the particular spirit. But there you have the spirit, showing up a little early, and then you just need to commune with the spirit and ask them if they can wait a little bit and come back when you are ready for them. And they normally will say, well, sure. So, and that happens mostly in the beginning, and maybe once in a blue moon it happens. So basically, sometimes spirits may be a little anxious to speak with a friend, and so that their voice and their suggestions, especially ancestors, that they are so loving and caring that they want to start the discussion maybe a little earlier than you were prepared. So here's the format A. And as with everything, this is just a way to do it, not the way to do it. So create and enter a sacred space of protection. We've already discussed how to set it up in one way, as setting up the lighted orb that fills your space. Get comfortable yet awake to what is happening around you within your sacred space, paying attention to your own breath and any senses in this space. Go to your third eye, allowing it to gently open all its senses by intent. And as you already know, your third eye holds all the senses. As your full attention is still deliberately on this space, now gratefully acknowledge Goddess, God, forever being with a forever being, you. Call for your gatekeeper to step forward. Do you see or hear or smell or feel or sense her or him or it with you? It is a good idea to prearrange how your gatekeeper will make itself known to you. And proclaim in your own words that you are entering this session to help and learn, that you come in light and divine love, bringing no harm, and expect the same in return. Now you can sense, see, hear, or feel a spirit stepping forward, or your gatekeeper will be aware a spirit has stepped forward. In both cases, inquire if the entity is of the light. If it is not of the light, tell it to return when it is of the light and understands what being of the light means. Once the spirit has been vetted, start your communications by asking questions. If the answers seem to be silly, still record the information because it might make more sense later. It is important to record the sessions if you can, or if you're inclined, in some format. So taking notes is always the go-to for me, because I tend to take notes. So since you will be working with your own past lives, which are your ancestors, begin asking questions regarding their life. Because sometimes when you're inquisitive about another person's life, you learn about your life through their life. So some examples may be as you begin your questioning, and of course you do not have to ask all of these, but it's just so that you see what kind of questions, though you're certainly welcome to ask any question of your ancestors. So here we go. Naturally, the first question is very helpful when you ask, what is your name? Where did you live? When did you live within this particular life? Did you have children? What did you do when you were in the physical world? This is a huge question. You can break it down into smaller, specific questions if you want. Examples can be, what did you do to keep a roof over your head? What did you do for a hobby? What did you do as your spiritual missions? What did you do to influence your family? What did you do to influence or change your world? Did you do something that helped humanity? What was your general missions? What was your joy? How did you spend most of your time? What did you believe in? Did you learn something within this lifetime that helped humanity grow deeper? What kind of personality do you have within this life? Were you able to commune with your other lives within this life? If you did not commune with your other lives, which life did you learn how to see your other lives? Was there any life-altering events? Is there anything you want to share regarding this life you lived? This life you live. Is there anything you want to convey about this physical world that I am recently focused? Is there anything you want to convey about this physical world that I am recently focused regarding animals or regarding plant life? Is there anything you want to convey about eternity that I am recently focused? Can you share knowledge regarding the light in the physical and the afterlife? Can you share knowledge regarding the light? Who is your mother? Who is your father? Who is your goddess? Who is your God? Who is your source? To whom do you trust? What does humanity need to focus on now to evolve? These are just a sample of the questions I ask. Until next time, blessed be.